Hey guys, how's it going? I thought I'd take some time to share a couple of stories from the road that I have throughout my life, things that have stood out even after all this time. You get older and you forget stuff, and just laying here in my tent, um, certain things come back to me. I've got a buddy who's hiking the Oregon Coast Trail, and he's a younger guy. It's his first hike, and he's real excited about it. So I'm trying to hook him up with some tips and tricks. But it also, reminds me of my first trip. Um, it was I don't even remember how many years ago it was. Probably uh, late '80s. I had this bright orange backpack, one of those ones that like had the aluminum frame, and the backpack itself was made out of canvas or something, and it was big and bulky, and I had a big sleeping bag attached to it. And I decided I was going to do my first hike. I was going to hike from Texarkana, Texas, to Denison, Texas. It's like 150 miles, not very far. I just wanted to experience it. Um, so I get to Texarkana, and I'm heading out of town, and there's a bridge. So I go under the bridge, and I'm like, all right, this is a nice little area. Uh, I head off to the side into the woods a little bit, and I found this concrete pylon. I guess it's one of those ones that you know. Uh, not all bridges have for trains have a elaborate thing. Sometimes it's just the track and there's concrete pylon. So I was underneath one of these, and I found a piece of plywood, and I set it down, and I set my tent on it, my sleeping bag on it, and I was just good to go. I did wake up that night to the sound of a train barreling down on me, which was it was surprising. It's very loud when you're directly underneath one. Um, but I was able to get to sleep through that. But the next morning, I woke up to gunshots, and I'm just I look out of my tent. I'm like, what's going on? Um, and just then, like there was gunshots, and there was like chips of concrete coming down on me. I guess people, like the good old boys, would come down under the bridge to, I guess, play target practice, and like these chips of concrete were flying down on me. I was like, hello, somebody's here, ridiculous. But that was my first real excursion. I did end up I hitchhiked, uh, you know, got rides from some cool people, and did make it to Denison. And that was pretty cool. Um, let's see. There was another time. Me and my buddies, we headed out on the road. We were going to sell leather goods, uh, you know, make and sell leather goods. I had like all this gear and stuff for that to make armbands, purses, belts, all that stuff. Um, anyway, that ended up being a bust. That's a whole story in itself. But I'm not a great storyteller, so um, that's not. Well, it is what it is. It ended up the two of them ended up just going their own ways at different parts of our journey. We ended up in Texas, and we went up to like Arkansas and dug up crystals. Because uh, in Arkansas back then they would just find like these crystal mines or whatever, and put uh, dynamite in the side of a hill, and all these shards of crystals come out and bury themselves miles away. And so we'd dig up crystals, and we'd wrap them up, sell them at like the Canton Fair. But we ended up quitting that. I was the only one left, and I had the car. I ended up driving west. It was my first time going west, and it was a shock, to for the first time being alone on the road, being alone. Um, just kind of going far out west, not really having a destination except west. I ended up in New Mexico, and I'm going through the hills. So it was west of Amarillo, and I'm going, headed towards Albuquerque or Santa Fe or whatever. And I'm going up these hills, up and down, and that's like hundreds of miles of that stuff until I got to this one area where the hills just went down into this crevasse, right? This gorge or whatever, and it kept going down, and I was just amazed. It was this place called Villanueva, and back then I don't know what it looks like now, but there was all these adobe houses, some of them falling apart, some of them not. There were no fences, and there were horses, uh, you know, just not a lot of them, but like they were free to roam wherever. I mean, I saw this one, I guess, old Indian. He was sitting, sorry, Native American. He was indigenous people. I don't know what. There's this guy, and he was sitting in an adobe house, an old crumbled down adobe house with no roof. He was sitting on a chair and watching TV, and it was just. I stopped there and I was like, wow, this is like, it was like an oasis. It was just really cool, and that like there would be all this sun and desert and crap, and then suddenly from out of nowhere you're in like a different space completely, and that was just pretty cool. I enjoyed that. um, what else would I like to share? Okay, so 2015, I was heading, was doing my walk across America thing, and started out in Tampa. Florida basically was a horrific place to start my walk. Maybe if I'd started higher north or whatever, but I was in the swamp country, and it was scary. I got to be honest with you. Um, there's a lot of stuff to be frightened of in Florida, including the people. Um, but it was about 2 weeks out, and I was, the only place I could find a spot, in the woods, and I go in, and I'm just freaking out. When you start on that kind of journey, everything is anxiety. Everything is, what if this happens? What if that happens? Or, you're worried about animals, snakes. You're worried about, insects, people mostly. But I was out here, and the woods were like a wooded area that like people hadn't really gone through, so it wasn't like that uh, pristine forested ground type stuff. It was just twigs come out of the, it was just primordial in a way. So I set up my tent, and I'm just going to sleep, and I wake up, and the whole night I'm just sitting in my tent listening to sounds and getting really really stressed out. uh, and then I got up around 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom or whatever. I wasn't able to sleep, and I step out, and after I finish my business, I look up, and I'm just amazed. There's fireflies everywhere. Um, there was no moon or a new moon, and so it was really dark starting out, but by this time there was fireflies everywhere. Uh, they're orange. I don't know why. It seems there's like green fireflies, orange fireflies, and white fireflies. I don't know. I don't know what the taxonomic rank of those things is, or how that works. But the thing is that the thing that I remember about that is that all of my stress and anxiety just flew right out of me, and it was magical to me. It was like, wow, like I'm so focused on what could go wrong, and I'm so focused on uh, the anxiety of everything, um, that I kind of lost focus of the journey. And so that kind of reoriented me and helped focus me. Um, it allowed me to see things in vagabond time. Vagabond time for me is when you're on the road, like seconds, moments, and hours matter. Like you don't really think too far ahead. You don't think more than a day ahead. You're in that time where every moment matters. And so um, when I get stressed out, I think about that time, you know. Um, Okay, so in 2015, I got a couple of stories from my time on the road with my walk across America. I think I was in Alabama at the time. I'm pretty sure I was in Alabama, and I'm heading through this town, and the sheriff stops uh, by me and asks me for my papers, not my papers, my documentation, my driver's license, whatever. Uh, so I gave it to him, and he looked me up, and I didn't have any warrants. So he's like, okay, uh, you know, asking me about my journey and everything, and uh, whatever. So uh, I had been keeping in touch with some other people that were doing the road. Uh, there was a couple that was walking about 2 weeks ahead of me. You do a lot of research, and a lot of them say, "Well, call up the police department, find out where camp spots are, so people don't hassle you and stuff." So I asked the sheriff, "Was like, is there a good camp spot around here that I could spend the night at?" And he's like, "Well, a couple miles up the road, there's a camp spot that you could stay at, but there's a lot of snakes there. You got to watch out for snakes." And I was like, I've been on the road for 3 weeks, or however long. Uh, and I was just like, I'm not worried about snakes. And so I end up heading up there, and it's actually this. It's not even really a camp spot area. Had a couple of benches under pavilions, and then it had like a boat launch, and it seems like that was pretty busy, the boat launch, and but then it quieted it down around 7 o'clock. Um, but then and so I'm heading off to sleep, and then I hear all these sounds, and it seems like there's a lot of cars. I'm a little bit into the bush or whatever in this area. Make your own, made my own way into the woods, away from people that might come by. Um, but there's a lot of traffic going by in this area, and so I go out and I peek out and I see all these cars going by, and then I see all these guys hanging out, and I'm like, oh, I get it, snakes. Haha. uh, funny. It was a gay pickup area, so um, I got to thinking about that cop, or that sheriff, he was being funny, haha. Um, but I was able to get to sleep that night. Didn't worry about, not a big deal. Um, there's one time in band camp. No, uh, one time I don't even know where I was, but it was raining real bad. The year that I left in 2015 had like some serious floods, flash flooding, and all that. There was always rain, but I was in this place where I could not find a place to to set up, and so finally I get to a point where there's like a road going across the railroad tracks. So I head down the railroad tracks and go into the woods. And it's raining and it's cloudy and it's dark. And I just find a place to set up. I'm getting soaked. There's thorns everywhere. I finally got set up and just like crashed. I was exhausted. And I woke up the next morning and it was nice. But then I look up outside my tent, right? I'm in the bushes, but I look outside my tent and I see that there's a stop sign, like, and a road literally 20 feet away. And I was like, wow, that's really weird, uh, but since that time I've slept outside numerous times, and I wouldn't even say that was the most um, sketch place I've slept, uh, but let's see what else I got. Stories. um, so I got toward the end of my walk. It was June 2015, and I had stayed with a buddy in Denison, Sherman, Texas, and decided to head out. So I'm heading out, and I got my cart, and I'm good to go. And I get about, I don't know, 7 miles outside of town, and lots of flash flooding, and the ground just looks different. I go underneath this bridge, thinking, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm gonna get a place to sleep for the night. I'm gonna sleep under the bridge. So I'm on the left side because I always walk against traffic, right? But I go into the bridge, and I'm like, and my cart could not make it, right, but I'm looking down there, and I, I saw like directly under the bridge there's like, I don't know, 2 feet clearance and like a muddy area, and I saw some like dog tracks in it or something. I didn't think about it. But what I did was I went like, I wanted to check out the other side, so I had to go down the road about a quarter mile because there was a pylon in the middle. And I came back, and I'm just sitting on the, it had like one of those concrete divider things, as a, like a railing kind of thing. I'm just sitting on that, just cooling off, and just out of nowhere, this cat comes out of like, the separated highway, right? Uh, or separated state road, and this cat comes out and is coming at me. And at the time, I remember thinking, that's a big cat. I mean, I used to have a Maine Coon cat at one point, so, and this was a lot bigger than that. But then a red van, a minivan, came at that same point, at that same moment, and the cat did one of those things where it jumped out of the way. Um, and I, in my mind, I remember seeing its back legs doing that, trying to get out of the way of the vehicle, and then it lands, and it just heads into the woods on the other, I don't know, 15, 20 feet away. It heads in, and I'm like, that was a puma. That was a cougar. That was that thing was coming for me. And I was wearing my straw hat, right? That was my uniform for the road, and it was all messed up, but it was a straw hat. Uh, you know, at that, after I saw that, the cougar, I was like, I looked it up online on my phone. It says, if you see a cougar, it means it's been stalking you for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, start backing up, start head back to town. Uh, on my way there, I saw a kid's straw hat, and I'm like, no, that's too dark. Thinking that, I'm not the first, just saw the straw hat and thought maybe easy meal because it had done it before. That's kind of dark. Another dark thought I have with that is sometimes I think that what happened is the cougar came out from the middle, jumped on me, pushed me, latched onto my neck, pushed me over the railing, and I'm this life that I'm living now since then is not a life. It's me having those last moments of life being drained out of me as that cougar is like clamping down on my neck. Uh, but anyway, but that's my cougar story, and ever since then, um, I don't know. I feel like that animal has got it out for me. It's kind of scary to think what could have happened. Um, but I guess the last story I'd like to leave you with, a quick one, is I was going through like Pensacola, I think it was, maybe one of those places, maybe Destin, and I was on a bridge, and um, I wasn't smoking, or I'm smoking weed or drinking or anything, but I look up and I saw the seagull, and the seagull, maybe it wasn't a seagull, maybe it was just another kind of bird, but it was completely transparent, right? Um, and at the time, I remember wanting to get a picture of it, but like I didn't have any juice in my phone. But I was like, and I kept on trying to look, because it might have been like how the sunlight glistens off of it or whatever. Uh, you know, I don't know. I was just like, what is going on here? This is weird. And I kept on checking it out from different angles, and no, it was transparent. I was like, it made me think. Richard Bach illusions, and that kind of, we kind of create the reality we perceive, or maybe in the world there's another reality that we don't even know about, right? That it's just, but because we live in this scientific theory, what's tested and what's known kind of life, that we don't think that maybe there's something outside of that. And maybe by me being on the road, already kind of walking outside the boundaries of what's civilized, that's why I was able to see this. I don't know. I think about it a lot. I think about like what's possible. And and I've got a lot of weird theories in my life. um, I guess you'd call them conspiracy theories, but it is what it is, and to think that we we have categorized and figured out everything that there is. But like when I'm on hikes and stuff like that, I try to keep an eye out for things that are unusual, magical places, magical glades, unusual things, because magic is out there. Anyway, those are my stories slash memories of the road that kind of stuck with me over time. I mean, I've got more, but like I said, I'm not really a storyteller. I'm not really a great storyteller. Those are just memories. Hope your road's a good one, and if you're homeless, I hope it doesn't suck for you. Peace out.